Hope Street.
Okay. Okay, so it's a nice sunny day. So who I have next to me, you can share me your nickname. However, how did you grow up? Tell me about yourself.
Sure, I am Victoria, and I am a Ukrainian immigrant living here in Los Angeles. I'm also a recovered drug addict and alcoholic.
Okay, thanks. So let's go from. That was a lot of information.
Too
Let's
much?
go from the beginning, childhood. So how was your? So you could you share me the story of your migrant story? However,
Yeah, so my parents are very educated, PhDs. My father's an aeronautical engineer, and my mother is a research biologist and a former physician. And, after the fall of the Soviet Union, there was not very much work at all, and the economy was terrible. Um, and my parents basically did their best to leave the country. We made it here finally after several attempts in 1996. And I came here with my sister, my parents, and my maternal grandparents. And from there, it took about 20 years for my parents to realize, I guess, what you would now call the American dream. Uh, and in the meantime, until my parents established their success and their careers, we lived in Hollywood and struggled and made it out. And then I myself felt the need to receive a higher education to appease my parents, and I did go to university and got into a master's program as well. And unlike them, I did go with the creative side and writing and literature. So I did not become a scientist, but very, very happy that I had that opportunity.
so you yeah, okay. How was your childhood?
My childhood was tumultuous. There was a lot culturally that uh, stressed productivity and chastity, uh, excelling academically, a lot of pressure, uh, some verbal abuse. Uh, my mother was very ill, so for a long time I was being raised by just my father, and um, it was very difficult to live up to the standards to someone who excelled so highly in their career and their education. So it was very, very uncomfortable. I was very unhappy as a child, very scared.
What was it like when you were a child? So you had a difficult. How was your mom's condition? You said she was
My
ill.
mother did spend quite a few years in a state of basically, is she going to die of cancer, returning cancer? She weighed very little. I was too scared to look at her, so essentially I did not have her in my life because she was hospitalized for so many years with various different kinds of cancer. And luckily now she lives a very full, active life, much more active than me, with many interests and many hobbies. So
Wow.
it's, yeah,
Oh, that's great. She really made it.
she really made it.
Wow. I also had a lot of cancer member in my family, so I know how difficult is it. So what about like after mid teenage, after 20s? How was your like adult life started like?
Growing up in Hollywood was interesting
Mhm.
because I was exposed to a subculture.
Mm.
I dove very deeply, almost academically, as
Mm.
a young teenager,
Mm.
12, 13 years old, into learning about rock and roll, the history of punk rock in Los Angeles,
Mm.
uh, a lot of sort of alternative writers or um, provocative writers and poets.
Mm.
And that sort of became my lifestyle.
Mm.
And I knew that it would be from a very young age. I knew I wanted to be
Mm.
heavily tattooed. I knew that I wanted to follow in the footsteps of rock stars. And it was very satisfying being in one of the epicenters of rock and roll and punk rock culture
Mm.
and even cinema.
Right. So I remember you mentioned some. What was the most difficult thing when you were a child? Like, like you said you had a difficult childhood, and I kind of got what you mean because of the parents' condition, your mom's condition. So
Yeah,
and
there was, very,
Mhm.
I feel like as human beings, I mean, I think in terms of navigating the world, it's very important in
Mhm.
childhood development,
Mm.
which I loved studying. In
Mm.
childhood psychology and psychiatry, I think it's very important to have a warm connection with the parent
Right.
in order to develop into someone that's actually independent,
Right.
capable of making sound decisions in navigating the world because they have that experience of feeling safe physically.
Yeah.
And I did not receive that.
Mm.
My parents were very much of the philosophy that, for example, a quote that was commonly given to me
Mhm.
was, you have to teach the child
Mhm.
discipline and being on their own while
Mm.
they are still uh, perpendicular to the bench
Mm.
and not parallel to the bench.
Mm.
Essentially saying if you don't make sound decisions now, you're going to be homeless.
Right.
Yeah. So there was a lot of that fear, very, very little affection. I mean, no hugging, no touching, no kissing, no
Mm.
holding. Emotions were punished.
Mm.
Sadness was verbally punished.
Mm.
Frustration was verbally punished.
Mm.
Um, it was difficult. It was really difficult, and there was a yearning to connect with other children, and I was even embarrassed and made to feel ashamed for wanting even human connection with other
Mm.
people.
Mm. Wow. So you are completely emotionally blocked.
Yes, and I do believe that throughout my lifetime it caused me
Mm.
some mental health disorders because I was not functioning properly
Mm.
as an adult
Mm.
and seeking stability and affection from people who, um, romantic partners especially,
Right.
who were not parents or nurses
Mhm.
or doctors, but I was seeking that compassion, stability, love, and sort of recovery from my discomfort from other people
Mm.
that were not equipped to provide it. That should have been done a long time ago.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
grew up very incapable of operating in the world
Mm.
soundly, securely, and confidently,
Mm.
almost paralyzed.
Mm.
Like they call it functional freeze.
Mm.
You know.
Mm. What is the, like you said, you feel the result of you feel the consequence of the environment you had. What do you have any specific confidence that a specific result?
There was. I was diagnosed with something called borderline personality disorder. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder,
Mhm.
and alcohol very early on, around age 14,
Mm.
became a wonderful solution to these feelings. Of course, that would later result in
Mm. Mm.
a painful adulthood,
Right.
but it felt very correct, and it provided very, very instantaneous, effective relief.
Mm. So, could you explain for the people who doesn't know what you have two conditions? What is this personality and bipolar for the people who doesn't know much about it from your
Sure.
condition?
So, borderline personality disorder, it is a personality disorder. So it's somewhere between psychiatry and psychology, but it's caused by an extreme fear of abandonment. Usually, this is caused by trauma. Again, lack of affection, right? So if you have sexual trauma or verbal or physical abuse of any kind as a child, into adulthood, you begin seeking it from other people to such an extent that you become obsessed with them. So you will do anything for them. You will love them like they're the center of your universe,
Right.
to where everything else blurs away. You know, you're not
Right.
focused on your career. You're not focused on your talents. You're not focused on your family. It's very difficult to be functional or of service to literally anybody but this person, whether they're a good person or not.
Right.
You are truly obsessed,
Mm.
and terrified at any sign that they could abandon you, leave you, break up with you, so on and so forth. The bipolar disorder is more of a psychiatric disorder. Again, I think stemming from instability. And so you have these peaks of excitement, and we call it mania, where you feel a great sense of grandiosity. Sometimes that results in even violence or substance abuse or promiscuity, and then followed by a severe crash where the individual is has no baseline. Essentially, they drop down into a very deep, long depression to the point where they many times can't even function or get out of bed or clean or take care of themselves for months at a time. And so I would say in early adulthood, those two disorders absolutely ruled my existence.
Wow. And you said from 14 years old, alcohol started. So could you also tell me a little bit about like what is alcoholic means? Like you said you were into it. What was the story? You said it was so worked for you, but how much or
I
how
felt free, from a young age, going just simply to a house party. I wasn't drinking at home. I was getting relatively good grades.
Right.
But when I drank, it was wonderful because I was free from the oppression.
Ego.
Yeah, just free from needing to appease this pressure to be something, to make something of myself, and free to pretend like I was a rock star. So the very people I idolized, the Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones, who's a notorious drug addict and alcoholic, the Sex Pistols, all these rock stars. I got to kind of follow a little bit in their footsteps, and it felt right. Like, this is who I am. Like, these people drink, and I like how I feel when I drink because I'm not worried about anything. And I feel like I feel confident, and I'm able to feel like myself or what I want to become. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, it made me very cool and stylish. But unfortunately, that's not a productive, sane way to live. And so I essentially became a hedonist, or a true hedonist, where all I was seeking was pleasure. That's all my body and my brain cared about, was seeking safety and seeking pleasure.
What was so you're saying alcohol, what kind of other pleasure you were seeking by then?
Oh, cocaine.
Cocaine.
The moment I was introduced to cocaine, I fell in love. It played very beautifully with alcohol because someone like me who generally I got lucky, I just had a very high tolerance for alcohol. I didn't fall drunk. I didn't, I didn't pass out on the grass or on the street. For me, I got to party all night. I did, I basically had this wonderful formula for taking just enough cocaine throughout the night to maintain the perfect alcoholic buzz. And so that initial release and warmth and good feeling that a normal person, that anyone gets when they take that second drink, right? Or they finish that first shot and 3 minutes later they feel like they want to dance or converse. I could actually maintain that with the help of cocaine for hours. I mean, some 12 hours I could do of just that wonderful feeling of that first drink, which in that moment obviously feels like there could be no consequences because chemically your brain is experiencing so much dopamine that you can fight grown men. I tried to fight Marines and I weighed 115 pounds. You could do anything.
Was it like very normal growing up in Hollywood? Was it normal to observe these kind of cultures around drugs
I romanticized it. I was sheltered from it. I think my family was very well aware of how prevalent it was in young people in that area. Culturally, I mean, it's LA. I grew up walking distance from Hollywood Boulevard on the right, and I could walk to the Sunset Strip on the left. And so, I think they were well aware, and so I was very much sheltered and shamed for things I had not even done yet. And so given the opportunity to go out to a punk show or turn 18 and walk away from the household, that's when I had the freedom to fully immerse myself in release and pleasure and lack of conformity. Oh, hi. That's a great singing voice. There he is. Lovely voice.
Yeah. Wow. So you're saying it was the parents were aware about environment, and so how did you meet, for example, alcohol 14? How did you meet cocaine, and then why it was just cocaine, not other drugs? So did you experience other drugs as well, or?
I got very lucky. First of all, because my parents had me so sheltered, which made me so anxious. I was very quiet and reserved about trying alcohol as a teenager, and I was relatively careful about it. So I would say I was introduced to cocaine in my early 20s, and it was just a brilliant feeling. But it did, it did have its consequences, which we can talk about if you like. But yeah, I mean, it was pure joy. It was like, not only does alcohol give me the release, but now I have this newfound sense of grandiosity. So along with release from pressure, the pressures of the world, the pressures of adulthood, the pressures of my parents' Soviet upbringing, now I get to even be, I don't even want to say rebellious, I get to do whatever I want. I can have any man I want, I can have any woman I want, I can fight anybody, I can break things, and feel justified in my anger or justified in my constant pursuit for pleasure. And then on a Monday, I can put on my clothes like a normal person and go to work or go to school as though nothing ever happened. And so no one was aware of my problem until my partner left me. So I was with my partner actually from the age of 15 to about 26. So it was almost like a marriage. And he was a wonderful man, is a wonderful man. And he couldn't do it anymore. So I almost took I call it holding somebody hostage. I was holding this man hostage, and he was feeling the wrath of my mental health disorders that were fueled by my cocaine and use of alcohol and cocaine. And he was very young, and he was very wise to very compassionately let me go.
Right.
To save his own happiness. I think he was very correct in doing that.
Was he clean person by then, or?
He was an absolutely normal person who was terrified of any drug. He drank normally, like a normal person. He could have a drink and put it down.
Yeah.
He could go dancing with just one beer in his hand and have another.
He had a pure joy in life.
Totally normal. He's the happiest, to this day, the happiest, most successful, kind man I know. We don't even talk anymore. I did so much damage. But I will always, always appreciate him as one of the kindest, loveliest, happiest humans on earth. And because I was so angry and sad with the world, I could not understand. And I was truly jealous and angry at somebody for being so happy and successful.
Wow. What's happened after? So we're talking about addiction and how you have to finish it. What's the impact after?
The impact was that I found myself alone and unable to sustain myself, and so I would do the bare minimum. You know, I no longer had the nice cars, the beautiful condominium, and I was basically put myself in a situation where I drank and used so much that I was perfectly fine, sometimes not working, sometimes working just enough so that my family didn't question what I was doing. But it resulted in me, you know, living with people, renting rooms, sleeping on couches, things like that, all under the guise of, you know, I'm looking for work, or I have a great new job that I couldn't really hold on to. You know, I was never fired, but I could not show up for work as a true employee because I had spent the entire evening before drinking whiskey and snorting cocaine. So they, you know, oh, look at that. Tiny bicycles, tiny motorcycles.
Oh, it's so cute.
That's very cute. Father-daughter motorsport.
How long? So, are you still suffering from all of these stories you said, or what's your life now?
What I have done since is around 2018, so 2 years after he left, you know, 2 years after my rock, my favorite person, my obsession, left me to save his own sanity, I got so bad in my addiction. I was in so much pain coming off of drugs. It's the hangover that got me. You know, it's the emotional crash, the deep, almost raw feeling. I felt like my heart was hanging inside out of my body, like I had no skin. I was in so much emotional agony, and I didn't quite know why. And it came to me in a TV show. I saw a girl who looked like me, dressed like me, talked like me, and was constantly doing drugs, but going to try to get sober at these meetings called Alcoholics Anonymous. And so I tried it, and I found a great community, and I kept drinking, but the drug use became less and less, and the drinking became different, less pleasurable. And it took several attempts between 2016 and 2020. And finally in 2020, I decided that instead of just showing up to these meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, that I would participate in what they ask of me in order to recover from addiction, which is more than just attending and building a community, but living by certain tenets and practicing certain things in order to better myself. And that program, I think, saved my life because I would have committed suicide otherwise. I don't know if drugs would be my end, but I knew that suicide would be.
How was so you're basically saying you've been not using any drugs for some times.
Since February 15th of 2020, I have not touched alcohol. I have not had any drugs whatsoever. And I, outside of work, dedicate pretty much every evening and weekend to Alcoholics Anonymous. And it is a very fulfilling life, believe it or not. Incredibly fulfilling. And sometimes I wish for things that are better, you know, but year over year, the more sober I get, or the more sobriety time I get, the more appreciative and incredibly overjoyed I get with what I have. And I've gone through material losses as a sober woman, and I can say that I am just better able to handle things, you know. In sobriety, I've lost jobs, I've been laid off, I've lost a lot of money, I've been very poor, I lost a child, I ended up in 2 abusive relationships, and I was able to walk away correctly. I was able to build a relationship with my family based off of what I learned, and it worked almost like ripples, like a wave that went out, and I began to see my family change into softer people. So I was able to reestablish a relationship with my sister, who's 12 years older than me, my nephews, and most importantly, my parents, who I learned to appreciate and love. And I think they felt that, and they became soft and nurturing in their 50s and 60s.
Wow.
So everything I needed from them as a child suddenly came to me from them when I took the initiative to reparent myself.
Wow. When you say the addiction time, how much your consumption, like per day? Was it like?
It varied throughout my addiction. So after my partner left me, it was daily, it was all day. So so I would wake up, put on music, and chain smoke while listening to music, drinking whiskey, 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning. I would wait until nightfall, and I would do cocaine, go out. I was with like many men, just honestly in my head looking for a boyfriend. But honestly, I mean, if you meet a woman in a bar who wants to dance and be charming and sleep with you and share her drugs or do drugs with you, you know, obviously you're not going to find a relationship in that way.
No.
But subconsciously, that's what I was seeking. I did not know that. I thought this was a way I could find another person to replace my wonderful former partner. So that was my life. Looking back, actually about 2 years into my sobriety, I started to remember that there were times when I wouldn't go to school and I would take entire semesters off, and I would have such deep depression that I would be at home all day. If I was alone, I would drink all day, even while going to the gym. I drank at the gym.
Wow.
Yeah, drank in the pool, drank in the gym, drank at home, and I was basically like an alcoholic housewife, you know, like you see in those movies about women in the 60s. So my life was like that. And then the only time I came out of my depression was, you could actually get me out of the house, a paralyzed, depressed person, with the promise of a cool bar, glamorous people, and the promise of cocaine. I could pull myself out of bed that evening so quickly, so easily, and that was the only way.
Over as we pass.
Sorry, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that was the only thing that could pull me out of a depression temporarily was the dopamine hit of the drugs, the excitement of being around, you know, well-dressed, hip, alternative youth, essentially.
So, wow, you said also a man. Like, do you think, like, from your experience, did you also very addicted to having sex or so on as well? Sexual. How was your sexual life?
Funny enough, with the first meeting I ever walked into, first 12-step anonymous group of people I walked into was something called SLAW. It's Sex and Love Addiction Anonymous. I thought I was, perhaps, after looking at the sheer number of people I was chasing in nightlife, perhaps that is my problem. And walking into that meeting, I quickly realized that I was not, in fact, addicted to sex. I was addicted to drugs, and that was the root of the problem.
When you, so you realize so many things, and now you're sober for some years.
6 years.
And how do you see life now? Are you actually, do you miss that, or are you feel much happier? I mean, obviously you a little bit mentioned. So this is a second start because by the heat I had to stop the camera because camera was not wanting recording anymore or anything. So we cut it, but we're gonna keep walking again. So I will start from the last question, okay?
Certainly.
Because it was not recorded, and I want to ask you again.
Sure.
So after all your journey of difficulty
Yes.
dealing with yourself and also substance, and you said you became clean for 6 years now.
Yes.
How is your life now? Are you happier by being that, and it has changed the way you feel what's happiness, or how does it impact to you?
Happiness and joy, almost all my life felt like they weren't real. Like it was something out of a fairy tale, or it's something people make up, or it's something that other people have, and I was just born into a world where in my environment or in my reality, that's just something that didn't exist. I didn't get it, you know, like literally I didn't receive joy or happiness, and I thought I was just gonna spend the rest of my life not knowing what that was like. And through working the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, they have something called the promises, and they promised me that if you just try this, if you just practice our program of being a human amongst humans, that you will be what we say in our literature, happy, joyous, and free. And seeing it in other people that had my story, I believed them. And I'm glad I did, because I am happy, joyous, and free. And I'm more capable of even having moments of joy, even when things are very hard. I've experienced adversity in sobriety. Did I talk about that?
No.
Yeah, I mean, in sobriety, I've lost jobs. I've restarted careers several times. I've done interesting things and then had no money and no prestige. And I have had poor relationships with abusive or careless men, and I lost a child, I lost a pregnancy in sobriety. And through, I knew how to handle it correctly, how to survive, how to not give in to sadness or anger or grief even, to experience it to a degree that is appropriate in order to recover and find joy again. And I believe briefly we've spoken before as friends about the depression. And the depression becomes more manageable. The bipolar disorder becomes more manageable because The brilliant people, the brilliant everyday people who founded Alcoholics Anonymous, one of which was an alcoholic surgeon, a doctor, believed in the importance of medicine
Right.
and encouraged everybody who needs it. It says those with mental and psychological disorders can absolutely recover from a hopeless state of mind and body if they have the capacity to be honest. And that means also to be honest and take care of yourself clinically if you need it with medicine. And so I became honest about what I needed. I became honest with my doctors. I sought the right help. And in conjunction with practicing a more spiritual human experience within the community of Alcoholics Anonymous, I learned that my depression and my mania was absolutely manageable so long as I took baby steps to help it when it came up. You know, so now all of the depression, all of the bipolar is shorter and less severe every time because I have the physical experience of having recovered from it before. So my body knows, hey, you can do it again. What did you do last time to help it? Do not isolate. Be with the community. They are there for you for more than just the drug and alcohol problem. You know, once we've gotten rid of the obsession to drink and use, now we have to deal with life. And the program gives us a community and guidelines to be better, to function, to heal, to overcome our adversities. You know, there's a passage about, you know, programs started in the 30s. We had World War II, and there were many of us from the community of Alcoholics Anonymous who, these soldiers went on to fight in France, and a large group of them. And weirdly enough, they had more success recovering from alcoholism and being better soldiers and being more hopeful, optimistic, and fighting better and coming back with less psychological disorders than the alcoholics who stayed at home and didn't go to war in that time. And when I read that, coming from a family of officers and, you know, high-ranking Soviet grandparents, my grandmother was an officer in the Soviet Army, my grandmother. My grandfather, her husband, was a paratrooper. So having read about these soldiers, I thought to myself, okay, that's power, that's independence, these are warriors. And I thought to myself, if the soldiers were better with Alcoholics Anonymous, I can be better with Alcoholics Anonymous.
You mentioned
Stronger. It's funny. Stronger by relying on other people.
yeah.
Isn't that strange?
What is it mean to you? Like, what is a community mean to you? Like you mentioned, you know, togetherness in the community.
I think it's more natural. It's more natural. I think every species on the entire planet survives based on community thriving together, providing each other with food and comfort and safety from other predators or other species by sticking together in packs or herds or pairs even. You know, I mean, we talk about plants, but I don't want to. Though even plants, they rely on the pollination of other species, you know? But everything has to be symbiotic and requires something outside of yourself, you know? And so if we lack community, whether it be familial or in adulthood, a community of other people, right? Because we no longer have the security of the family, or maybe we never got it in the first place, in my case, it's unnatural. And so I feel like having a community helps literally with self-regulation and self-soothing. I think it's incredibly important as mammals that we feel a sense of community somewhere. And if you're missing that, it's absolutely unnatural.
How do you feel today? A lot of people must be with the time change, internet, smartphone. However, more people spending seems like a lot of time alone. What would be the best way to find a community for you? Do you think in a yeah very in a
You know, as an addict alcoholic, and that's my whole life. You know, I go to work and then I go to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, which can be anywhere from 2 to 50 people to 100 people, all with the common interest. You know, our primary purpose is literally to stay sober, and the most important part, to help another alcoholic to achieve sobriety. You know, that's community with a purpose. That's care. That's care for your species and humankind, you know? That's a real connection. I actually went into remission from my borderline personality disorder, that disorder where you're seeking an over-reliance on people, especially as a woman, on men. I actually overcame borderline personality disorder, a very difficult disorder with a high suicide rate. More than 15% commit suicide. And those are just the ones that are officially diagnosed, commit suicide. That feeling of relying on one other person went away. The loneliness went away. And so I noticed also that detaching from social media and occasionally completely deleting my social media completely from my phone, I connect with people more, and I end up helping more people, and so my self-esteem goes up. Literally my value in myself as a human goes up, because now I am doing actively in the real world, physically talking to, touching, hugging, helping real humans, and doing good things, and I don't have to tell anybody about them. I do them, and these are esteemable acts. Therefore, I get self-esteem from action, not from ego, not from being smart, not from being beautiful, but simply by existing as a person and doing something. And therefore, now I have a real life. I'm not rooted in my head, my delusions, my pain, my depression. Now I have the opportunity to exist truly, really fully.
Wow.
So yeah, so social media, I have to often detach to find my happiness.
When did you diagnosed from the medical profession, and how did you survive before you meet this community when you have a difficult time with your psychological condition?
Well, first of all, I was very violent. I was very sad. And so that sadness, when unsupported, becomes violence, right? Kind of like an angry, dysfunctional primate, right? Which I was, in fact, a primate, completely dysfunctional. And I would drink and use alcohol, and suddenly that sadness became this burst of manic energy and ego, and I would imagine things, and I was abusive. I went to jail. I was arrested, and luckily in the police car, when I went to jail for domestic violence, as a perpetrator of domestic violence. Ironic. Later becoming a victim of domestic violence, a survivor of domestic violence. I went to jail, and I remember in the police car, I had to be transferred by a female officer, so they transferred me to a different car. And I remember her tilting the mirror so I could see her eyes. And she said to me, she goes, "Listen," she goes, "here's what I'm going to say to you." She goes, "I don't know about your parents. I don't know about your life being ruined. I don't know what's going to happen, once your community finds out you were arrested for a felony." I said, "I will tell you this." I said, "Your brain," and she was so gentle. She said, "Your brain doesn't function quite like other people." She said, "Your brain, it works a little bit differently." And later on, I remembered that. I remembered that. And luckily, I had a therapist who tricked me into going to the mental hospital for 3 days.
Mm.
And she tricked me. I was doing drugs, and I said, I don't feel well. She said, did you do drugs again? I said, yes. She said, I want you to go get your vitals checked, just like your blood pressure, you know. I want you to just go to the emergency room. And I wasn't even thinking because I was coming down off drugs. And I said, okay. And my brain had no dopamine, so I was just kind of like nothing, like I had no emotions or couldn't think very well. And I went to the hospital, and she had called ahead, and they put me on a 3-day psychiatric lockdown. And that's where I learned, I was blessed. That's where I learned that I had these disorders. And it took a little while to get proper treatment for them, but just knowing, I think, put me on the right path. So there were a lot of signs.
And what was it was the age of?
I would say 24, 25, 26 when I finally accepted that I had a psychiatric problem. And then a little bit longer before I realized that I was an addict and an alcoholic. Because in my hedonism, I enjoyed it too much. It brought me too much relief for me to realize that it was a problem in my life. And that it was stripping me of so many things. And that I was not attentive to the people in my life that needed my attention.
So when you find out these things, until you met the community to share the pain together, however, when you had a very difficult time, what was the biggest support? For example, me, I have to say, it's always for me, it's music. What was it something particular thing when you were so alone, when you were so down, somehow kept you being survived psychologically?
No, I tried committing suicide. Nothing. I mean, I'll be honest, like nothing. There were many things I loved and valued in art and music and rock and roll and history. I love history. I've always loved history. But I mean, honestly, it was an act of providence. Like I'm an agnostic, but it had to have been some magic. I don't know, I guess the Christians would say God or fate or magic. It was truly an act of providence that drove me to wake up one day, call my ex-husband and say, I need help. I'm going to walk to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. It wasn't even a question, just needed to tell him. And I said, I need you to come get all my things. I said, I need to start fresh. I don't know what's going to happen. I said, I'm going to walk to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know how quickly I'm going to get this thing. I need you to take the dogs so they're well taken care of. And I'm going to try this. Like really try this. And he came and he took my dogs, and it was painful, obviously, but it was necessary. I had to give up everything. And took a few tries, but 4 years later, here we are. Well, 4 years later, there I was finally sober.
Wow. What would you say?
So that's 10 years of trying.
10 years of trying. Wow.
6 years of success.
Patient. What? So you lost everything. You had a suicide moment.
Yes.
What would you advise for yourself if you meet yourself before you try to suicide?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I had a few attempts, and one was almost successful. My husband ended up calling my family and saying, I can't do this. You need to help her. This is your daughter. You need to start believing that mental health issues are real. Because they didn't, they're Soviet. They were like, well, get it together, And he said she can't get it together. And my father came to town they live in Seattle. He pulled me aside and he said, look, about this killing yourself thing, And I was like, oh my God, you know? And he said, this is all I'm going to say. He said, if you commit suicide,
Mm-hmm.
he goes, your husband, he will get over it. His life will go on. He will find happiness. He said, your friends will act like they're sad. They'll make it a point to pretend like they really cared about you, and maybe they did, and they will move on with their lives.
Mm.
He said, me and your mother
Mm.
will never get over it.
Mm.
Because we will not survive this if you do this.
Mm.
And from that point, I never tried committing suicide again.
Wow.
Because it would have been a selfish act. And so many things I was doing were already selfish acts. And so much of my thinking was already selfish. Because, you know, even sitting in your sorrow without seeking help is a selfish act. Because it's like egotism, but in the other direction. Because you're still thinking about yourself. So I think what I've learned is the key is to get out of yourself, help somebody else, and see if it makes you feel better. And guess what? It does.
Did you lost some people you know by suicide or by the consequence of over substance drugs?
Many.
Many.
Yeah. Many. I mean, off the top of my head, in my 6 years of being of service to Alcoholics Anonymous and kind of hosting meetings, 2 young people and one very talented person in his 60s. So that's just off the top of my head. I mean, obviously these were people I knew, but many say, hey, you remember so-and-so who used to come here? Yeah, he overdosed. You know, that happens all the time.
How does that impact you, that you were also part of some time in your life you wanted to commit suicide, and now you kind of more see the people around sometimes like lose themselves their life? Does it impact, how does it speak to you?
Well, it's so rampant now because we talked about this briefly as friends,
Right.
how unnatural the world functions now. You know, it's no longer just food, shelter, water, community. It's prestige, money, intangible things, internet, all these things. You know, and so we're not functioning correctly, and so people give into it, whether it be suicide or drug addiction to escape the uncomfortabilities of the modern world. You know, but I can't grieve them. This is my personal experience. I can't grieve them because I have other people to help. And I don't have a savior complex. In fact, if I'm working with another woman in the program, so many of them go out. As in, they go and drink. They stop calling me. They stop meeting with me in this, you know, peer-to-peer support. They go out. And sometimes I never hear from them again. And sometimes they call me a year later and say, I lost everything. You were right. I want to save myself from having it get any worse. Will you work with me again? Absolutely. But that is why when they ask, you know, who wants to work with other people so that the people in the room can see who they can talk to and keep in contact with and learn more, I always raise my hand, even if I'm working with 10 other women, because statistically I know there's a chance they may never call me again. So I just make myself available to as many people as possible. So I can't grieve these losses because there's still work to do.
Right.
Yeah. But not to sound insensitive, but we're in sheer numbers and we're dying, especially with the fentanyl epidemic.
So what is for you now? You said like, you know, you find community and you find warmness being around human. However, does it change meaning of what love is?
Absolutely. For the first time in my life, I am experiencing love that is non-romantic. As a matter of fact, growing up, I did not love my parents. They weren't that horrible. But I did not love them. I truly, 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 this is interesting to say and admit, I truly did not love them. There was no feelings of love there. I think I wanted to, I just didn't. They weren't warm enough and I didn't feel love. And so I only loved men. And now, through this community, I learned to love friends. I learned about the importance of platonic love, the love of female friends, the love of supportive male friends with, no sexual feelings, no hopes that you'll date them, just really good men. So I learned the spirit of brotherhood is absolutely real.
Yeah.
And slowly, 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 I stopped loving only men. I learned to love, again, like a practice. I started to accept and give love to my brothers and sisters in recovery. And then I was able to love my nephews. And then I tried my best to love my sister, because sisters, sisters.
Yep.
And my parents. And I think in admitting love, I think they softened. Because how are you going to be not caring and soft towards a daughter who emits so much peace that you've never seen in her before?
Right.
You are naturally going to become soft, loving, nurturing, and caring.
Right. Tension is finally gone.
Tension is finally gone.
Wow. So, what do you like? What was this? What is the thing? For example, do you have any favorite books or music that's, if somebody's in difficult condition, you would advise for them? Anything? Do you have any favorite books? Because I like asking what books if they have.
Well, oddly enough, I read about. I want to be a historian of Alcoholics Anonymous so that I can carry the message clearly and honestly without, I try my best to eliminate as much bias and self-injection or ego into Alcoholics Anonymous. So on my vacation, I actually try to find a new book about maybe the history of the Alcoholics Anonymous in the 30s, the beginnings, things like that. And it's interesting to me. But apart from that, I've actually started reading again. In my addiction and in recovery, I was so depressed that I lost my love of literature and music. I'm actually experiencing music now, and I love soul. I love this. I love, I think that was Creedence Clearwater Revival. I collect cassette tapes now.
Nice.
I listen to a lot of classic rock. It's cool. It makes me feel good.
Nice.
I'm listening to classical music. I'm making playlists again for
That's
different moods. I actually have a playlist, believe it or not, a little bit of a self-made superstition. Where to get through some of my trauma, I created a playlist, and when I hit 365 songs on that playlist, meaning I hear a song and I go, that can help me, that feels good, or that resonates with the sadness I feel, I add it to this playlist. I don't even listen to it all the way through, but I'm almost at 300, so I have a feeling that when I reach 365 songs, I will come out on the other side of my trauma. But yes, I have playlists for all sorts of moods, and but mainly like very aggressive, cool, sexy rock, so I can feel like myself.
Do you think art impacted you a lot in a difficult time? Or not more like sports or anything else, science or?
I've never had hobbies, and I still don't. I'm a brilliant writer. I love poetry. as a sober woman, I can honestly read the poetry that I write, and it sounds very egotistical, but unlike the poetry I wrote before, which I thought was so good, I can read it now, and I read it and I go, oh, that's good. Like if somebody else had written this, I would eat this up. This is awesome. So I think I've become a better poet, and I'm starting to read again. Like I just went book shopping. Oh my gosh, I love books. I love books. So it's starting to go a little bit in the direction of like, okay, I read a lot of stuff about recovery and history of Alcoholics Anonymous because that's my passion and saved my life. I want to do it correctly when I talk to other women. But also, it taught me how to read passionately again. And so now I'm reading books all the time, especially on psychology, fashion, and history. Oh, and oh gosh, what do you call it? The study of people and societies.
Sociology?
Yeah, kind of like sociology, yeah.
So that's cool. That's good. You find something to like looking forward every day. How do you see? Like, do you find any beliefs in life? What's your belief in life today? Like anything come from you or whatever? If you have some specific religion, could be. But if you have something like personal.
I believe in a soul. I believe I have a soul now. I didn't know I had a soul. I thought I was just like a body walking through the world in agony. Again, from a young age, very young. And now I'm like, oh, I have a soul. I have a spirit. Like, there's some almost magical quality to that, right? Because you can't explain it very well, even if you're incredibly eloquent.
Yeah.
Or poetic or talented in writing. It's hard to explain.
Because you gotta feel it.
It's a feeling. Yeah. So, yeah, I have what we call the sunlight of the spirit. I'm trudging the road to happy destiny. And it has been a happy destiny. So, yeah, I believe I have a spirit, I have a soul. I'm capable of living life and not letting it happen to me, good or bad. Not up to me what happens, right? Up to me how I respond to it and handle it.
What's your hope? Do you have any hopes in life now?
I try not to dream too big these days. I think part of the reason is because I've only been sober for 6 years.
Right.
And so I'm still learning how to just exist, how to be in the moment. And so honestly, right now, I'm trying not to dream too big. But I've done some really cool things. Some really cool things in the last 6 years. I mean, I catapulted myself into the movie industry, and I worked a really cool job making props and setting up scenes for movies and music videos and TV shows. And I did that. I did it all on my own. I just injected myself into that world, and I succeeded all on my own by being kind and helpful and productive. And I shifted gears and went into a different field. And, like right now, I'm just putting one foot in front of the other.
Right.
And right now, I have the hope that pretty soon my mental health and my sobriety will help me get back into writing. So I don't want to be famous for anything. I'm not looking for that. That'd be cool. But, but I just want to be able to do a little more. And I did accomplish one thing that I'd always dreamed of. I am singing jazz with a real band now, once a week. So I never thought I could sing jazz standards to a group of people. But that's my hobby, and I love it, and it feels right because I love jazz. Yeah.
That's nice. Well, I should say, like when somebody, so I want to, for the parents who have a difficult child today,
Yes.
what as you are the child, one of them, what would you advise towards child
Well,
or kids?
There's a group, a sister group of ours called Al-Anon, and it's for the families of spouses and children and partners, families that are alcoholics and addicts. And they have something I think called the 3 C's, which is like I didn't cause it, I can't cure it. I forgot the other one, but I mean, essentially, you know, take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself first, because we're gonna do what we're gonna do. Doesn't matter if you come from a history of a problematic childhood or an absolutely normal household. You know, you have to, from what I've learned, take care of yourself first, and then just give that person what options they have, because you can't force it. Like from experience, you know, interventions haven't worked. Losing everything hadn't worked for me. You know, I know a lot of people go into treatment. I think that's great. I think if you need to lock yourself up to get that stuff out of your system enough to hear something that might eventually save your life, I think that's great. I think if you're in a really bad state, like really bad, like me, you know, go on a 3-day lockdown. Going to that hospital was amazing, because I realized in that hospital that I had 2 severe disorders, and I was there because I took a lot of drugs, and that's potentially a real problem. So, you know, but you want to present people with options, because adults and teenagers, you know, I have a close family member who's like my child, 16 years old, who's also an addict, and already has a criminal record, and you know, we come from a great family. All I do is occasionally I secretly sneak him away from his mom, and I take him to meetings so that we both maintain our anonymity as addicts and alcoholics. You know, I would never tell his mom. And so I take him to meetings and I say, hey, you know, you're old enough that if this becomes a real problem, you know how your aunt did it, and you know this door will always be open to you. So all you can do is really, I think, all I can do is I present people with options. If that means, hey, are you open to coming to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous? Just hear what they have to say. You never know. 10 years down the road, they could go, you know what, maybe those alcoholics were right. Maybe I'll visit them again. And wouldn't it be an absolute act of providence, like it was for me, that they get well too? Yeah.
What would you advise what would you tell for the teenage or youngs starting to be in a direction towards alcoholic or drug addiction, or what about smoking pot, like weed?
Yeah, I mean, I think,
what would you advise them?
first of all, the potency of marijuana has changed in the last 30, 40 years. You know, it's completely different now. It's bred, this plant is bred to be incredibly potent. Therefore, it becomes more addictive. We're now seeing something called cannabinoid hyperemesis, which is emergency rooms every day are complaining that people are coming in frequently for this more and more. It's because this cannabis, the THC, is building up in their blood and their fat cells to a degree where the body can't handle it anymore. And so essentially people are actually ODing. They're actually overdosing on it. You know, it's not the calming, funny drug that it used to be, where you listen to music, eat ice cream, and 2 hours later do your homework. You know, it's not like that anymore. So, people should know how serious that addiction can be. And I actually have a family member who is addicted and smokes probably about 20 hours a day, and they're incredibly violent. You know, because they're irritable. You can't harsh their high, or they get irritable. So it's not a light thing. It's not a drug to take lightly, first of all. You know, and second of all, you know, one of my best friends is an 18-year-old alcoholic addict who has autism, severe autism, and is about to have 1 year sober, and has gone through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. So young people and any person who is scarcely a potential alcoholic should still consider any kind of program, literature, counseling, anything that they can do, even Alcoholics Anonymous, to save themselves from the literal hell that the rest of us had gone through.
Mm.
So we welcome even potential alcoholics and problem drinkers,
Mm. Mm.
so that maybe you can arrest the problem having heard how bad it can get.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, and it's just people, it's just people saying, here's how I did it. I'm just a little bit ahead of you. Follow me. Follow me. Follow what I did. It's like being in a cave and one person has a flashlight and the other one doesn't. Well, you're just a few steps ahead of them shining that light, saying, hey, you got this. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. Follow me. Or, hey, there's a, if you don't follow me, you're going to trip over that root. Come on, come with me. And you kind of get each other through that cave of difficulty. So it's truly a peer program. We don't have authority, we are here to help you, whether you're on the street, dying in a hospital, or you think you just might have a problem. Either way, there are plenty of different programs, options, literature, peer programs, even harm reduction is a big thing right now, where you can work with people on tapering or controlling your consumption. It's a different school of thought, but I find it incredibly valid. So harm reduction programs, Alcoholics Anonymous is not the only way, just a way that worked for me.
What does success mean to you now?
Success to me now means something completely different. I think, honestly, I'll give you a little quick recap of my life. I thought either bad things were going to happen to me or good things were going to happen to me. Essentially, like, in my head, it was like, oh, I'm deserving of an Oscar because I'm a great actress. I'm not even an actress. Or, I know I have a really great jazz voice, so I'm going to get a Grammy or I'm going to become famous.
Right.
But I don't know how to do that, so maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. And now my idea of success is, like, honestly, just getting out of bed and not calling out of work. It's just showing up to a meeting and hanging out with my friends and leaving the house because I'm doing something, And like I said, I wanted to sing jazz. I'm singing jazz. I don't care how many people show up to this ugly bar in Burbank on a Tuesday. I don't care. The point is I have a microphone and a band, and that is just such a great feeling. Such a great feeling, just to do it.
Wow. What about how, now a lot of people really having difficult time psychologically in this world, and if you could tell, like, what would you tell to, what would you like to, if you could want to share, what would you like to tell to society? What is life?
That there are resources, there are people that understand that it's absolutely real, no matter what, culturally where you come from. They might say this stuff isn't real, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get it together. There is so much hope in getting help from other people. There's so many resources. Like, as long as you're honest, no matter how desperate you are, very desperate or a little desperate, just be honest with yourself that you're in pain and start looking for resources. Start looking for free clinics. Start looking for support groups for whatever trauma you experience. But do something. Something little, but do something. Please start, because there is hope. And you will have access to more and more resources to get better and find joy again if you just take a baby step to show up somewhere or call somebody that can put you in the right direction. So more and more resources will become available to you, and so many of them are free.
Yeah. I will ask last question for you. What would you like to tell yourself 10 years ago and 10 years later.
You won't believe this, girl. If I told you that I'm still cool, that I'm still attractive, that I'm smarter, wiser than ever, and that I don't even do drugs or alcohol. As a matter of fact, I've dedicated my life to not doing drugs and not drinking. She would laugh. But she would be happy. She would be happy to hear that I'm still myself. It's important that I stay cool. Okay, Kimura? I gotta be cool. Gotta be cool, man. Oh, and I would tell her, hey, I got the coolest tattoos, man. And I'd show her and she'd be like, oh, that's cool. Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she'd be happy. She wouldn't believe me about the sober thing, but she'd be happy. She'd be really, really happy.
Wow. That was great to hear from your story. You walked around 1 hour.
Wow.
Some cut
All
was
right.
there.
And
But,
last message, Kimura. The word hope. Hold on, pain ends.
Wow. I will finish the recording, and thanks for today's walk. It was a nice time, and we'll see you again.
You're lovely. Thank you for what you do. Tremendous. Thank you.